6 weeks rather than the months that the court had previously announced. The fact that it was unanimous led many people to conclude that it was going to go against the Scottish Government, whose Lord Advocate of Scotland actually asked the Supreme Court here in London to rule. And in fact, that has happened. The President of the Supreme Court, Lord Reid, explaining that unanimously judges have decided that the proposed legislation from the Scottish Parliament calling a second referendum on independence would touch on what they call reserved matters. Now that includes things which affect the Union, the United Kingdom's existence. The Scottish Government had argued that if they had a referendum, it would be advisory and that it wouldn't have an immediate effect on the existence of the UK, and therefore it wouldn't touch on those reserved matters. They've lost the argument conclusively. Now, the situation in Scotland is that public opinion is still fairly divided. It's more pro-independence than back in 2014 when the no camp won 55-45, but it's not very strong. Nicola Sturgeon recognises this. She said that if she lost this judgment, she would then have to seek a mandate through a further election.
A Walmart employee shot dead 6 people before turning the gun on himself in the U.S. state of Virginia. The attack took place inside a Walmart store in the city of Chesapeake. The retail chain says it's shocked. The motive is not yet known.
6 victims have died. 4 victims are in area hospitals with conditions unknown at this time. And the suspect is dead from what we believe was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The Chesapeake Police SWAT team executed a search warrant at the suspect's residence, and with the help of the Virginia State Police, we cleared the house. We have reason to believe that there's no risk to the public at this time.
A protest at the world's largest Apple iPhone factory in China has turned violent. Videos on social media show Foxconn employees marching in Jiangsu, being confronted by police. Some have reportedly been beaten and detained. Workers are protesting against unpaid wages and the impact of China's strict COVID-19 policy. Patrick Falk is following developments from Hong Kong.
Well, whereas workers had previously scaled walls to flee the factory in droves, now things have turned violent at the plant in Zhengzhou, with live stream video showing men wielding sticks, smashing security cameras. Remember, a lot of them had complained about working conditions after cases of infection broke out there, and they'd been lured to come back and work with the promise of incentives, including bonuses. Reports are saying that they're now being told that the bonuses they were promised won't be paid till later, and so many of them are angry about that. There's one person in a video in particular saying that Foxconn doesn't treat us like human beings, and many of them coming up against men in hazmat suits who are said to be police holding batons. But all of this is really adding to the collective frustrations across the country over the implementation of COVID curbs, and also increasing uncertainty about the long-term effects these controls are going to have on China's economy.
Conflict and climate change have left millions of people in Sudan in need of humanitarian assistance. The United Nations says 1 in every 3 people is going hungry, while political turmoil is hindering aid delivery. Ibn Morgan has more from Port Sudan.
Aid arrives at Sudan's main port along its Red Sea coast, nearly 50,000 tons to help 1 million people.
The delivery whose arrival we're recognizing today is part of a broader flow of much-needed food and commodities to Sudan to help address food insecurity here. And we're not just shipping food aid, we're also shipping containers of non-food items such as hermetic bags, tarpaulins, mobile storage units, vehicles and spare parts, among other things.
The UN says the situation is dire. It estimates about a third of the Sudanese population of 44 million does not have enough food. Severe weather patterns have destroyed harvests, sending market prices soaring as the economy deteriorates. And now, a political turmoil is slowing the flow of food to those who need it the most. The aid sector is suffering the knock-on effects of last year's military takeover. Some agencies have been forced to scale back relief programs as a result of funding cuts. And as prolonged conflicts in parts of the country forces more families to flee their homes, the number of those in need has increased, but humanitarian groups say there's no way to access them. Fighting has cut off many in remote areas with no secure paths to get aid to them. And since the takeover derailed Sudan's transition to democracy, some donors have reduced humanitarian assistance that helped Azhariya Juma get her 4-year-old twin daughters out of malnutrition when she started visiting this center.
I come here every week to get nutritional food that they give to children. It has helped them a lot. Their health has improved.
Organizations such as the World Food Programme say more needs to be done to help those in need.
Much as, yes, funding has reduced, quite honestly, some of the donors have stepped up. They've been